We be bopping, bumping, all the above on STEMbassy. It's always a good time here. I'm so excited tonight. We have some very interesting, very special guests that are doing amazing things in the STEM space. And I cannot wait to hear from them. Welcome back to STEMbassy. Every week we have our show. This is the place where STEM ambassadors meet. It's a weekly talk show centered around STEM. It is hosted by 5 incredibly talented and passionate women in STEM, and you're about to meet all of us very soon. I am going to introduce myself first. Hello, my name is Raven Baxter. I'm also known in the internet streets as Raven the Science Maven. I'm so excited to be here tonight for the season 3, episode 5, a show of STEMbassy. And this, again, is the place where STEM ambassadors meet. That's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. If this is your first time joining us here, welcome. If you're a weekly watcher, thank you for supporting STEMbassy. Make sure you stay active in the comment section. This is a live show. You're watching us live, and we love to engage with our audience members. So make sure that you leave a comment. Tell us where you're watching from. I'm on the East Coast, but we have our whole team is spread out all over the country. So we want to know where our viewers are watching from as well. And as I'm waiting for you all to tell me where you are, I'm going to bring on one of our wonderful guests. It's time to bring out our hosts as well, Jay, Amanda, Chanel, and Ariana. So quick note, we got a scientist from Cleveland in the house. What's up, Cleveland? I'm not too far from Cleveland. All right. Yeah, Cleveland's cool. Cleveland's cool. Hey, Jay, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Sleep deprived, but I'm doing great.
Tell everybody why you're sleep deprived, though.
I am sleep deprived because I am doing my first field experience in international psychology, and I am on Kuwaiti time. So I have not had a lot of sleep, but it's been very interesting, very fun. I've learned a lot, and I had my first international talk. So yeah, we'll
international. I know. And experts in technology, okay?
Oh,
all right, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself because I will hype you up for the entire show.
Look, I appreciate that. I accept that. Thank you very much because it's coming from you, Raven. But hello, everybody. I am Jay. I'm a UX researcher and international psychology student, passionate about AI security, cybersecurity, I apologize, and women empowerment. I also have a podcast called Get Into It Pod that releases episodes every Tuesday. It is a cultural and tech podcast from a psychological standpoint. So every Tuesday I release a new episode. So when you all get a chance, go ahead and check it out. I can't hear you, Raven.
No. I'm back. Okay. We have the handle here for Get Into It Pod on the screen at Get Into It Pod. It is an amazing podcast. I can't wait to listen more to the episodes. Jay, you're doing great work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Amanda. Speaking of podcasts.
Hello. Oh, yes. Speaking of podcasts, let me introduce myself. My name is Amanda. I'm a PhD student at the University of California, San Diego, West Coast out here. And I also have a podcast. It's called Triplicates. It's hosted by me and 2 other first-gen women of color pursuing our doctoral degrees. We give our experiences, give you some advice, tips, share some things we had to learn the hard way so that you do not have to. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at TriplicatesPod and on all major streaming platforms.
Again, big things popping for the STEMbassy hosts, okay? We are an impressive bunch, all right? So make sure you listen. Make sure you check out Triplicates Pod. It's a very valuable resource for those who are first-gen students and or are trying to understand the first-gen experience. I've learned a lot from Amanda, not just from her first-gen experiences, but she's a very interesting person to listen to, and her friends are as well. I've had a chance to speak to them a couple of times, so definitely check out the podcast.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Next up, we have Chanel, also known as the Public Health Babe, but I won't introduce her. I'm gonna let her do it. Chanel, how you doing?
Because you're so silly. Hey, everybody. I'm Chanel, also known as the Public Health Babe. I am a cell molecular biologist with a doctorate in You guessed it, public health. I presently work in human health and toxicology, but from time to time, you will see me put on my public health hat, and that means I'm about to give you some insight as to how something we've talked about today or what's going on in current pop culture relates to STEM topics, cultural competency, health education, and health literacy. Welcome to STEMbassy.
We love it. We love it. And Chanel, Dr. Chanel, has been another valuable resource to STEMbassy, especially during the pandemic. We started STEMbassy last year. Over a year ago. We've been hosting STEMbassy for a year, and almost every episode, Chanel has come on our platform with valuable public health information pertaining to the pandemic and concerning COVID-19. And like, we're forever grateful. The audience has learned so much from you. So thank you for the value that you bring to our table.
Just doing my job.
Just doing your job. Listen, that's what we do. Ariana, how you doing, girl? You hanging in there?
I'm here. I made it. Hi, everyone. I'm Ariana, also known as Ari the Ecologist on the internet. I'm a wildlife biologist, and I just finished my master's in wildlife ecology studying bobcats in New Jersey. I'm currently an adjunct instructor and a wildlife technician. We're trapping turkeys. But I will be starting a PhD position at the University of Idaho studying wolf ecology this May, which is very, very exciting. And while we have your attention, please make sure you are following STEMbassy on Twitter and Instagram at STEMbassy, on Facebook at The STEMbassy. And you can find links to all these platforms at our website, STEMbassy.org. That's STEMbassy.org. And don't forget to join us on Patreon at patreon.com/STEMbassy. You catch all that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to. There we go. Yes, thank you so much. It is great, as always, to be on screen. I was going to say on stage, but in the STEMbassy. All right, in the STEMbassy with you all every week. It's an honor, truly. And you know what else is an honor? You know what else? The guests that we have this week being on the show.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. We have two powerhouses who have joined us today. I cannot wait to have this conversation. I feel like it's going to be very engaging, very saucy, filled with rich conversation. So let's talk about our guest, okay? This week, we're joined by two very special STEM ambassadors. We're so excited to announce Zakiya Watley and Titi Shodia. Zakiya was a Derek K. Gondway postdoctoral fellow and visiting assistant professor in the biology department at Gettysburg College, teaching introductory biology, microbiology, and the fault in our genomes, and then cell biology, introductory biology, and an advanced research seminar, the molecular basis of biofilms, as an assistant professor. We love all of those subjects. Can't wait to talk about it. TT manages accreditation and accreditation activities for over 150 labs that cross disciplines all over the US and internationally, requiring a breadth of knowledge in science, engineering, international standards, cutting edge technology, science policy, and governmental requirements. She's also a part of standards writing groups that develop scientific practices and protocols. She also coordinates proficiency testing for calibration labs and works very closely with the labs on NIST's campus in their development and implementation. Both are heralded as some of the key women of color disrupting STEM space as scientists and the digital frontier as podcasters. Titi and Zakiya founded Dope Labs through Spotify's Sound Up podcast accelerator program, educating and supporting women of color in the podcasting space. They designed the educational science podcast to make STEM more accessible to communities of color. So we have Zakiya Watley and Titi Shodia, both doctors, who created Dope Labs, a podcast that you can listen to on Spotify. And we are so excited to bring them up on stage. Without further ado, we have Drs. Titi and Zakiya.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. Hello. Oh, it's the podcasting house tonight. I'm very excited about this.
It is.
Absolutely.
We love to
Thank
see
you guys for coming. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah,
We are very excited to be here with y'all.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I know some people are going to be really excited because Spotify, you can't really see who's talking. So now they can kind of put a faces to the names and the voice. Right?
Right.
So amazing. So how are you both feeling today?
Good. Excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you.
Yes, we've been trying to get on this show for a while, it feels like.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness.
I feel honored.
Well, we're so happy that you came on.
We are happy we could coordinate with y'all. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about your podcast if they haven't, dipped their toes into the Spotify listening? What is all your podcast about?
I feel like our podcast is kind of like right at the nexus of pop culture. So what's on Twitter, what's on Instagram, and the science behind it, right? So yeah, we see this stuff kind of trending, but if you just peel that little thin layer back, you're not that far from the science. And so that's what we like to bring to people. Usually it's me and TT hosting. We usually bring a guest on who has expertise in the area that we're talking about. And all we're doing is weaving a narrative and really helping you feel like the science is close to you. I think so much of science is exclusionary and uses jargon and all this stuff that really kind of turns you off. You're like, I don't really care about that. And so we try to really bring it in and say, no, it's everywhere. It's all around you. And let us show you how.
I really love that. And you made me think about something I saw. It was Chopped. Y'all know the TV show Chopped. And I'm not going to say who was the special host on this episode, but he is a food scientist. And he's like a well-known person. But it was his special episode, and he set it up as a food science theme. And usually, on Chopped, they don't discuss food science or anything like that. It's just about cooking. And so he came in there, and he was basically poised as a scientist. But the way he was acting was so like extra. He was like very uppity. The way he was explaining the science, he was at a chalkboard, basically like, yeah, the phenols, the alcohols, the carbohydrates. And I'm like, okay, but like, can you not just stand up there and shout these big words at these folks, like to make it seem harder than it actually is? Because it's really not as hard as you're making it seem as you wave around the blue food coloring with the dried ice in it.
Exactly. And I mean, people really, I feel like there are some people who are in the scientific community that feel like that is what science is all about. It's about feeling like you're on this pedestal, looking down at everyone else like, I know all this stuff that y'all don't know. So tell you. And like using all these big words and stuff like, I'm like, it's not necessary. And that's why like in the very beginning of people's education, like they're so quickly turned off by a lot of the scientific concepts. And I'm just like, we could really have a really rich scientific community if we just open up that door and let people know that you can be yourself, you can learn and teach in different ways. Like it doesn't always have to be like how you were describing.
It doesn't have to be like that.
It doesn't.
So glad you said that. We have this conversation so often, and not just like in science, but in a lot of, I guess you say, popular or more known industries like science, technology, well, STEM, period, right? And it's like we all have our idea of what a scientist is, what a technologist is, from back when. And it's like, that is still the idea in a lot of people's heads. Like, you have to be this poised. Like, you have to know these words. You have to always say that. And when I explain technology, I use very simple words because I don't want to seem so intimidating because people assume, oh, well, no, you can't do it. Or, y'all know, I'm not that serious. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be me,
Right.
That opens the door because it's kind of like, oh my gosh, TT's like me, Zakia's just like me. Okay, I think I can do this. Let me ask, and then that interest is there, and then go forward into, okay, well, I'm gonna ask questions, I'm gonna research this, I'm gonna listen to this podcast, and that just, it's a whole different narrative, which brings in more people. I love that. I applaud you. This is amazing.
Thank you.
This is amazing. Thank you. You're welcome.
Was there a point in time, like, is there anything that you experienced in your own personal lives that impacted your decision to kind of disrupt STEM culture in the way that you're choosing to do?
I mean, I feel like there's so many stories. man, it's hard to pick just one.
We like stories. We love stories.
Well, when I was finishing up my PhD, and I knew that I was going to do a postdoc at the University of Michigan, and there was this kind of informal PhD students in my department meeting up just to have lunch and things like that, and it was at the end of a school year, and so I was kind of telling people, you know, I'm going to be moving, I'm graduating, starting my postdoc in Michigan, and this one person was like, do you think you got that postdoc because you're Black?
Oh, did it?
And I was like,
Okay.
well, no, I think I got it because I'm qualified. I think I got it because, you know, I just finished my PhD at Duke and I have a particular set of skills, and I think that they were smart for hiring me. And they were like, oh, okay, you know, because I just know that, you know, a lot of Black people get positions. And, you know, when you do a little bit of digging after that, because in moments like that, sometimes I take it personally. Like, why do they feel like they can talk to me like this? Like, why me, you know? But then I found out later that that person had been rejected for a postdoc pretty much everywhere that they had applied to. And I was like, it's not about me. It was really just about them and them feeling insecure about what was going on in their lives. And rather than trying to, you know, empower themselves, empower others, they decided to try and tear somebody down, which is what a lot of people's knee-jerk reaction is to do. But so in that moment, I was like, when I think about it, and when I think about this show and the work that we do on this show, like showing up as our full selves and letting people know, like, you know, we have nothing to prove at this point. Like, we've already done everything that we needed to do to be a credible voice in the scientific space. And so if you ask me to change who I am in order for you to feel comfortable about me being there, you are the problem.
I agree. I agree. I was waiting for yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I think, you know, just like TT is saying, you have these little incidents, and I think we all can kind of, I can speak for myself. I know TT and I met in grad school. So our scientific journey from grad school and on feels like it's just been in lockstep together. And I think maybe Raven, you were tweeting about this the other day. One of the things we kind of see, I have a little bit of a bone to pick, and it's always around the education space and in different departments, who's credible. We value STEM education, but we don't, you know, over here on the side, do all this extra work. This is service, but not part of your scholarship, but we need it to survive. You know, so I have a lot of, we could talk all day about that, but you know, you mentioned that I did right now I'm at the University of Maryland, but before I did a teaching postdoc at another school, and definitely ran into some of those, you know, into some of those barriers. And I was seeing, you know, we have the evidence now that shows us the first year courses are the things that where we lose a lot of diversity, where we lose a lot of, so we see the gender disparity right after those first year intro courses and undergrad science courses. Same thing for underrepresented minorities. We lose people. And so TT can remember, I was staying up, I was a postdoc, it was focused on teaching, I was teaching introductory biology. I was like, how can I make this accessible? How can I make them understand? So I'm using the top 20 hits to teach you the basics of replication, right? I'm using whatever tools I have available. Take something that people are already interested in, and that's what makes them remember it. That's what makes them get involved. And that's kind of what we've done with Dope Labs. We saw it work in our classrooms when TT taught, when I taught, we saw those things work. So why not replicate it? But I think it becomes hard because a lot of times people buy into this stuff. I remember a student saying to me that she couldn't understand something that another professor was teaching to her, and could I break it down? But she couldn't understand it because he was too smart to teach it in a way that she would understand. And that blew my mind. I was like, wow, he's too smart to help you understand, but you'll come to me for the labor, right? And so it's just, there are all these things that we kind of see, and they all show up in different ways that reinforce these different narratives about what's high science, you know, or what's credible, or what's intellectually rigorous. And I think it's a lot of fluff.
Yeah.
Hey, Zakia, can I want to I don't want to put a pin in what you said, but I definitely want to highlight something you just said. So, because I saw something else that maybe someone may not see, and if I'm getting this wrong, stop me. When I hear what you said, the student gave credence to the intelligence of the other professor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But they came to you
Mm-hmm.
to break it down, but did not give the same credence to your intelligence or the ability to be able to do that.
Exactly.
You heard it
Right.
right.
And so Amanda, what if you did that? So did everybody see Amanda's face? Amanda was like, I didn't think everybody caught that. So if you're watching the show, I want you to see the dynamics that just happened here between the student and what just happened to Zakia. So they understood that there was something going on that they were lacking. But instead of asking the person that was teaching, that was responsible for their knowledge and their understanding, because they're too smart, but yet they weren't comfortable enough to go to that smart person for the labor that it's going to take for that extra help the student needed. They went to Zakia, did not give her the acknowledgement, the credit about her intelligence or the ability to be able to relay the information properly or to their level of understanding, but still wanted her to do the labor of that extra help and assistance. That's super important.
And I mean,
to put that out
we
there.
we see things like this all the time, where it's just like, and I'm sure all the people on the screen that have doctorates or pursuing doctorates, we see it, we hear it all the time, where people have a lack of respect for women with PhDs, people of color with PhDs, where they might call me TT, even though, you know, most of the time I'm okay with that, but they make it a point to never call their, you know, white male professors Ron or Derek or whatever, but they'll always call me TT. And so sometimes in those moments, I'm like, you know what, you need to call me Dr. Shadia. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, Mrs. Shadia. And I'm like, no, that's not right either. That's not right either. And but it's like they don't feel comfortable, or it's like they just reject, their mind can't like absorb the fact that, you know, you have these credentials and that you deserve a certain level of respect within your community. And it's just crazy. So when I hear stories like that, I'm like, not surprised at all.
Well, that's why it's important for us to change that narrative, because it's not just about representation. It's about that respect too, because I work just as hard as you. Worked harder than
for real
where I am, and you still can't give me the basic respect as to acknowledge the doctorate that I have. Now I'm speaking future terms, but I'm talking about y'all that got it. You can't acknowledge the fact that I have a doctorate. Why? What does that do to your psyche to call me a woman of color doctor? It takes nothing away from you. Absolutely nothing away from you. But the narrative is what a doctor looks like, what a doctor is supposed to do, how you're supposed to carry yourself. You're not supposed to be relative to anybody. Like, it's too trendy, because if you're too trendy, nobody's going to take you seriously. If you talk out too much, you're not assertive. You're being bossy, or you're being like angry. There's always some label, which is you separate even more when we're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing. Yeah. Okay.
These are really great points that you all are making. And so now that you've taken into account the current state of science culture, you've done something about it. You've created Dope Labs, which is a highly engaging show, very culturally relevant and responsive. So how did this come about? Like, tell us about how did you two collaborate on this? Where did this partnership come from? Have you guys known each other for a long time? Like, tell us about the fruition of Dope Labs. How did this come about?
Well, if I get to tell the story, me and Zakia are cousins and we grew up together. But that's just how it feels being friends with Zakia. Like, she feels like family. But we met when we were in graduate school. I don't remember the year. We always get the year wrong, I think. We went looking back in pictures a few weeks ago. Do you remember the year?
I don't know. Maybe
2011
or 10. I don't know.
Something
at
like
least
that.
After 2010, right there. Yeah.
Yes. So we met in graduate school, and she took me under her wing because I started a few years after she did. And I just, did everything she told me to do, because those are the types of people that you need when you're in graduate school, because I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know what it took to get a PhD. Didn't feel like I should be there. I didn't feel like I would ever finish. And she was just like, come, get under here. And I just did whatever she told me to do. But one of the things that we loved to do after the lab was go to the bar and have drinks and relax and unwind. And while we were there, we would always run into people that would be like, so what do you guys do? And you would say, oh, we're PhD students at the university. And then something would happen where they would start asking us all of these questions, like questions that, you know, they felt like was eating them alive, like very basic science questions, but they wanted an answer. And they were always, it seemed like they were like ashamed to ask those questions, but they felt like they could ask us, which is totally fine. So they would ask us, you know, what's buoyancy? I don't really understand what DNA is. I don't really understand this, that, and the other thing. And so sometimes we'd be able to talk through it with them and say, oh, this is what it is, and explain it. And we have a really fun, engaging conversation over drinks. And sometimes we wouldn't know the answer. We'd say, okay, I don't know the answer, but I know the answer to some of these other things, and maybe we can come up with our own conclusions from what we do know. And so from there, we were just like, oh, this is a great idea. I think that tying, you know, things that people actually care about, and like pop culture and the news and sports and everything like that, and to show the science behind it that they can apply to a lot of other things, is a really, really fun show. And so from there, you know, fast forward a few years because, you know, we had to graduate. And while Zakia was in Pennsylvania at her postdoc, and I was working. No, you were a professor. You weren't a postdoc anymore. And I was working. Sorry about that. Nice. She saw this thing online and sent it to me in the middle of the night. And it was for Spotify's Sound Up program. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to apply for it. But she was transitioning to her position at University of Maryland. And I was like, she is so busy. Like, she has all these responsibilities. I'm going to just type it up and send it in. And I felt confident. And I was just like, send. And then she saw on Twitter that there was 18,000 applications. She was like, oh, girl, I'm so glad we didn't waste our time filling out the application. And I was like, oh, my God, I actually did apply. And I think we're going to get it. I already took off work for that week. I'm just putting it out into the universe that we're going to get it and it's going to be fine. And a few weeks later, yeah, we got the call that, you know, we were one of the finalists, and then we competed. We had Sound Up for a week, competed at the end, and then we were one of the winners. And that was the start of Dope Labs.
Yeah. I love this story. What I love the most is that you two just bet on yourselves. Like, so many people are afraid of taking that first step all the time. Like, all the time I hear this from people. Well, I want to do this. How do I get started? I'm like, just start. Like,
do the thing. Yeah, do the thing.
Out there. The worst that can happen is what? They just say what? No. But you at least tried. Mm-hmm. And then the best case scenario, you get exactly what you wanted, and you can do exactly what you wanted to do, if not more. So congratulations to you all. It's very inspiring, especially to see two Black women just believing in themselves, no matter what society tells us we can't do.
That's right.
Right. That's right. That's something that I think that I've learned from Zakia since knowing her over the last, you know, decade or so. Zakia has really instilled in me that it's like a new way of looking at life. She's like, girl, do it. You can do it. You know everything. You are the best. She was like DJ Khaled for me before DJ Khaled was DJ Khaled. She was like, you're a winner. You own everything. Those people be lucky to hear your voice. You better get over there and do that thing. Because I mean, I feel like a lot of us operate on fear a lot. And when you take out the fear portion of it, I mean, it feels like you can really do anything. And even if you fail, it's like, okay, on to the next thing.
Yeah, you learn something.
Exactly. And so that's something that I've learned from our friendship that I feel like, you know, has helped take us as far as we've been able to go with the show. It's like, we just go into everything just fearless.
I feel that so much because all these ladies here at STEMbassy have done the same thing for me on my journey of getting into a PhD program. It's like, man, I missed another one. And they're like, it's coming. You wait, the right one's coming. So I feel that. Now, it's so amazing that you guys were winners for the Sound Up program. But what was it like during the midst of the pandemic and everything happening in 2020 to create Dope Labs what it is?
2020 was crazy. Okay, I think we all know it, but I think sometimes you have to really stop and just say, what did I just go through? You know, just like everybody else, we had our little journals out and we were like, 2020 is going to be our year. You know, you write down all the stuff you want to do. You write down
manifesting, okay?
He's still mad about that.
It was supposed to be the year.
It was going to be your year, right? TT and I
Wow.
were so excited to work on our next season of Dope Labs, and we said, okay, we're going to do more man on the street. So one of the things we do in our podcast is to go and just ask people questions, to get their ideas, to implant their voices into the show. That's over, right? That's over. You can't go outside and do that. And I can even remember at the end of season 2, so our season ended at the end of February of 2020. So January, I'm like, TT's an engineer. I have a background probably more similar to Chanel. So I'm a cell and molecular biologist. My background's in genetics and genomics, bacterial genetics specifically. And I was like, hey, girl, something's going on in China. And I was like, we should keep our eyes on it, because we're always thinking about what's coming up next. And I said, not that many people are talking about it, but the first place I saw a conversation about coronavirus was on Twitter. That's where I get, we
all her information.
All my information. I'm sending you tweets all night long. Okay. And so I was like, this is the latest. Here's what they're saying. I think we should talk about this. So in January, we reached out to Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett. And Kizzy is at NIH, and she, at the time, we were able to book her 2 civilians. We're able to get a chance to meet with her. We go and we get it set up for February. We're still excited. Me and TT had gone to New York the weekend. We came back. We go to NIH. We're like, what's going on? We want to talk to you about coronavirus. It's just, it's real laid back. And we're recording and we're like, the CDC will take care of everything. No need to
not
worry.
worried about it. Not worried about it at all.
We're at NIH. It's maybe 7 or 8 at night, TT, when we're there recording. Everybody's working. They're gearing up. They're at the vaccine center. So Kizzmekia is leading the group that did the Moderna vaccine with NIH. So everybody's full steam ahead. I'm looking through. They're maxi prepping. They're doing everything. They're just collecting DNA. They're molecular biology out the wazoo. I feel good after that interview. I'm like, homegirls got it on lock. We don't need to worry about this. We're about to live our lives. We record the episode. It comes out maybe right before Valentine's Day. And everything changed by March. It was totally different, right? And so when I go back and listen to that episode, we sound so hopeful. We sound so excited.
I always just say we sound so dumb. Because we were like, wash your hands. That's just wash your hands. It'll be all right.
Honestly,
because that's what it was at that moment. That's what it was. It was just wash your hands. There's this thing called the coronavirus. Wash your hands. It's like the flu. We'll be all right if everybody just washes their hands and stays clean. And then, a few weeks later, we in a pandemic.
Full blown. And so that was just how our 2020, that was the first, dubstep. It shook us a little bit. But then it was like, okay, now what, girl? You guys are ready to bring on the new season. We were separate. Everybody's using Zoom, but can you use Zoom to record a podcast? These are the things we're asking ourselves.
Audio quality, everything.
It was just, also, TT and I are doing a good job of this now, but before, first of all, we love to cackle and laugh and talk on top of each other. The recordings were useless. We were just, we were out of sync. We couldn't get it together. And so I think it was quite a learning curve for us. But, and also I think one of the things is that we bring your entire self to your work, and it's hard to bring that passion and that joy when you're so unsure about everything else that's going on around you, and so I think that was also one of the things that made it difficult. Just how do I toe the line of being real, not being too optimistic because we remember what happened in February, and then also still being lighthearted, still being fun, and still not losing the essence of what Dope Labs is.
Man, you touched on so much, and it was similar to how we went through on STEMbassy. The only difference was we had Chanel.
Right. We did have Chanel.
we had Chanel, and so we were looking at it from a public health standpoint, a psychological standpoint, and there was so many things behind the scene for each of us that we started to know, and how people were acting different. And especially towards the Asian community. And we were like, wait, hold on there. Hold on. Let's just stop for a minute. We're going too far. And then we were like, wait a minute. Do we even have the infrastructure? You know, and we're very entitled, you know, as Americans. Like, we're saying, just like you, TT, just wash your hands. But then you're thinking about, why we running out of toilet tissue? Like, were you never wiping yourself? Like, what? Like, what was, why is this a crap thing now? It was so weird. And then you're thinking about, okay, this is how people are really living their lives. Nobody's thinking about the future. I don't know if y'all upset 2020 and 2019. I don't know what happened. Like, were we too optimistic? It was so much going on. And you're right. Everything happened so quickly. And it was just like, okay, how do you prepare? Like, you get it. You have to sink it in. It has to sink in because you have no other choice. And then it's like, okay, well, we got to immediately, like y'all did. How do we change it? The only difference was we were never in the same place, but coordinating. And, you know, like on my end, I'm like, okay, kids been out of school for a while already. Like, they were on spring break, and I'm like, y'all, look, I don't know where this going to end, but I don't do homeschool. Guess what? We homeschool.
We homeschooling now.
But everything changed a little bit. And I think, Amanda, you just got into the PhD program. You were about to move.
Yes.
Wow.
I think the weekend before STEMbassy, we like officially started. I think I was interviewing at UCSD. So I had just flown on a plane. You know, I was like, oh, I'm on top of the world. We come home. No planes. We ain't going nowhere no more. We home. Yeah, but I have a question. You mentioned something a little bit ago, and you were saying that, you know, there's this season 2, you just started the pandemic. When did the Sound Up program fit into, like, did you do the Sound Up before you started the podcast? Was Sound Up kind of in the in between stages? Like, where did that fall in your growth?
Sound Up was 2018.
2018.
Oh, so it was a while ago.
Yeah, before we started the podcast. And so we pitched our idea to Sound Up for Dope Labs, and then started Dope Labs after we won that. Yeah.
Amazing.
And where is that going? You know, like, where are we? I know I listened to season 3 episode. Do you have a new up and coming? Are we feeling a little bit more hopeful now that we're nearing the end of a pandemic, maybe with these vaccines? Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah,
Fingers crossed.
I think season 3 gave us a really unique opportunity to talk about different issues that, you know, kind of cropped up because of the pandemic. So we didn't, because we were like, okay, are we going to talk about the pandemic for a whole season? Because we could, because there's just so much to talk about. But what we decided was to talk about things that were coronavirus adjacent or pandemic adjacent. So all of these issues that were then put into a pressure cooker because of the pandemic. So housing was an issue before the pandemic. The pandemic just exacerbated it. We talked about food supply chain. We talked about, what else did we talk about?
Friendship. You know, we see the support.
Yes, and how important friendship can be during times like this, and how relationships are strained because of this, and how our relationships with our friends are changing. And so, like, with that season, I felt like we were able to do really, really amazing work and show like a lot of different viewpoints with the pandemic as kind of like a backdrop that was running in the background. I think going forward, we're super excited to start the next season, because I think we have a lot of ideas about, post-pandemic, when things start to really open up and people really start to get back outside and socially interacting again. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be the same. I don't know if I'm going to be acting the same. I might still want people to stay away a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, what's going to be the new normal? Are we going to be seeing people wearing masks like forever and ever and always now?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
I like my mask, especially in the wintertime because my face warm.
Yes. That chill.
And you know what? I take a bus to school, this little school shuttle. It's kind of nice not to be worrying about people's germs. People be sneezing, you're just in the air, locked together like that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the airport. Everybody's in the airport. So maybe it's weird now to see, like, not y'all because we're not face to face, but it's weird to see people's noses for me now. Because I'll see them wear the mask like half, and then I see all of your nose, especially like if I'm going to a certain coffee place. I'm not saying the name because they're not sponsoring us. So when you go into this place and they give you your coffee and I see your nose, I'm like, did you breathe on my coffee?
Right.
Did you
and it all
today?
You know what I really want to do an episode on? Because I am now realizing, which I didn't know before. You all are all very smart, so I'm sure some of you might have known how defining a nose can be. I will see somebody take their mask off and be like, that's a completely different person. Dude. That is not the same person. It'd be like one person, completely different person. And it shocks me every time. Like, the nose is so critical. It's critical to a face.
It is. You are so right. Because the eyes can be so beautiful. You know, like, you have from here beautiful up. Eyes. Okay, I thank you for your eyes. That's it. You're right about that. You're right. Yep.
Well, thank you. This has been such a fun conversation. I want to know, like, what has been the overall response to Dope Labs? Because we all think it's amazing. We're all excited about it, but what have other people mentioned? And also, like, when can we get new episodes?
Well, I'll start with the first question. Okay. I think it's been really good so far for us, right? To just know, I think when TT and I thought about Dope Labs and what it could be, we said, it would be really nice if people could just rock with us, really understand what we're trying to say. It felt like it was going to be local. I knew my friends would listen, my parents, TT's friends. My
sisters would listen.
Right. But then,
so that's like 10 people.
The first day we launched, like, people were writing to us on Instagram. People were coming to the dopelabspodcast.com. And I was like, girl, something is happening. And people were like, where is the merch? I was like,
what merch?
What merch? I took our logo. I put it on a person with a black t-shirt that I found on the internet. And I was like, pre-order, I guess. Stickers, and it was just.
She turned into a packing facility in like 16 hours. I was like, what is happening? We were selling out of shirts, and I was like, what shirts?
The response was overwhelming. It's just, and it felt good, right? To know that this was something that not only resonated with us and our, close groups of friends that we talked to, but to other people who don't know us, have no investment in us or our success at all. So it definitely felt like, okay, we're filling some type of void. And it was just really exciting. The things, we were still really new with podcasting. Those first few recordings, they weren't right, baby. Okay, they were not right. My mic was off. So it was just quite a learning curve. And to be able to put out a product at the end, or to have a finished episode and to be able to share with everybody and people to be just as excited as we were, it felt really good. And it continues to feel great to be able to respond to people's questions. People are writing to us and saying, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Teachers are showing us when they're playing Dope Labs in their classroom and like the want to know and learned, the KWL worksheets. I melt every time. every time. And so it's been really rewarding. It's been really fun. And to be able to reach some of our, like, we all have kind of like scientist goals. And so to write to Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson,
Yes.
her to write back and say, "Oh yeah, I'll be on the show." I was like, girl.
I was like, why? No, I'm just kidding. No, we were super excited. Yeah, I didn't think she was gonna respond.
Amazing.
That's cool. Man, that's cool.
So inspirational. I hope everybody listening is taking notes. Bet on yourself, okay? Because these two women did, and let me tell you, they are doing the thing. They put themselves out there. They had a dream, a goal, and they just knocking it out the park. They made something incredible. Dope labs, y'all. Dope labs. I'm gonna put it up here on the screen so that y'all know. Dope Labs podcast. Well, we're heading towards the end of our show. We do have well, Chanel, did you have a question? Sorry, did you have a question, Chanel?
No, I don't have any questions. It's pretty awesome. I'm just kind of sad we're so short on time because there was so much more to discuss, about them being Black women and diversity and the podcast and science. And there's just so many different ways we can go with this. So I'm kind of bummed that we're out of time for this.
We can talk about it.
We could.
We can throw that in there.
This is our show.
Okay, then let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it, ladies.
Can we get into that a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Ask the questions.
Okay, so let's talk about it. What's that like? What's that like being two Black women with the Dope Science Show? Besides all the cool interviews, right? Besides all of that, what's it like being two Black women with STEM degrees, having doctorates, and the responses you've been getting from people besides people you're interviewing and the audience? What kind of reactions have you got? What's it like for you guys?
I'm gonna see if TT wants to respond.
I think the response generally is very positive. Like, people understand what we're trying to do, and they respect it, and they want more of it. Sometimes you get little things from people who don't get it and don't want to get it, so they make it a point to not get it. And so, like, we've had maybe a couple of people write us and say, "I don't like the way that you talk. I don't like the way that you sound. Like, I don't like the way you said this word." And I'm just like, Zakia is Southern, and I'm from PG County, Maryland. Now, how I talk and how she talks is very rooted in where we're from. And I was just like, I'm not going to change the way that I talk, because what you're telling me to do is to code switch. That's what that means. You want me to code switch on my own show.
Like, say it like a true. Say it like a true pretty girl. Say it like a true PG County native. We ain't changing nothing, baby. We ain't changing nothing.
And that's what I was like, see, this is how I know we're on to something. Like, it's annoying to see, and it's annoying to read, and it's annoying to get that kind of feedback from a person. But I'm just like, nah, like, this is exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Because just how it made you feel a little bit uncomfortable, good. Because then that creates space for another, Black girl from North Carolina to show up in a space and speak how she was raised to speak with that accent, and you have heard it before. Or another little Black girl from PG County that speaks like me, you've heard it before. So it doesn't sound so foreign, and you won't tell her to change her voice, because that little girl or that woman can't have a doctorate. That woman can be a lawyer. She could be an MD. She could be a journalist. She could be anything. And still maintain herself and still be true to herself.
Is it other Black people asking you to code switch?
No.
Okay.
No, we haven't gotten that.
Okay.
That's good.
I hope we don't get that. I don't know if I'll be able to keep it cute.
Yeah.
That is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's funny that you said that, Raven. Remember when I took my grad photos when I got my doctorate degree and I graduated? I took them and I told you what someone said to me in the comments. So Zakia and TT, when I got my doctorate degree and I took my graduation photos, I have tattoos and I wear bamboo earrings and all that jazz. I'm authentic in myself, and so I thought it was really, really important exactly like TT said. I want someone who sees me, who is from PG County or from wherever, right? From wherever in the diaspora, to see me and to see my hair locked and loaded, to see me with my bamboo earrings on, see me with my tattoo showing, and see me with that doctoral ham. Okay? I want you to see me in all of this, to know that I might look at your cousin, your auntie, or somebody that you know someone that looks just like me. Okay? And I want you to be okay with that and comfortable with that and know that it's possible. Somebody who is from the diaspora made a comment about me being a Black woman representing myself in that way. Took into no account that these are photos from my doctorate degree celebration, okay? And some of them I even had my gown on my shoulder, like, this is a doctoral gown, you see that? So, you know, even not taking into account any of that, said that I was a poor, I'm not gonna say what they said, but that I was a poor representation of Black women, and that my potential spouse probably would not be a Black man. Paraphrasing.
I'd really like to know what they do in life. Okay. But all right.
But the thing is, like, people don't realize that is like basically brainwashing.
It is.
By societal standards of what how Black people should be walking, talking, breathing. Like
respectability politics are something that really just grinds my gears a lot. Like, I'm just like, no, I don't think that anybody should have to look any type of way to deserve any type of respect. I think that should be like standard for all people. But for some Black folks, they feel like, or some people in general, and then some Black folks feel like you can't be respected if you dress like that, or if you look like that, or if you talk like that, or if you walk like this, or if your body is shaped a certain way. Type of clothing. And I'm just like, no, this is what they've tricked you into believing. You actually can do it all. You can do all those things and still be respected. We have to reprogram, you know, our minds when we do that. And it, like, you have to be willing to do the work, the deprogramming. They keep trying to tell us, like, it's frustrating. Sorry, Zakia, I think I might have cut you off.
No, I'm both shocked and not surprised, right?
Shocked, right?
Janelle's story. But I mean, it's the same thing. And I think sometimes it feels you can never really separate these things out, right? So you don't know what you're getting because you're a woman, what you're getting because you're Black. I'm never able to separate those things. And I think it's something that TT and I talk about a lot. You know, when you say, what is it like to be a Black woman in science and navigating these new spaces? I think one of the things that we kind of know how to navigate and move around in the sciences. In the space of media, in the media space, it's a little bit more difficult to figure out what's happening here. Is this how this always happens? You know, is this something that's happening that's unique to me and my personality? Is it related to one of the ways you see me or the box you've put me in because of how I talk or because of whatever? But I think all those things are great. Create whatever narrative you'd like, because at the end of the day, I'm going to show up, right? I'm going to show up and it doesn't matter if you're impressed or if you care about it, I'm going to show up. And I'm going to knock everything out the water. So I really have to try to block those things off. And I think that's one of the things that TT and I are constantly telling each other as we move forward and we pursue different goals. You know, it's just like, all right, we got to get in the zone. We got to tune all the other stuff out. And it sucks that you have to, right? And that you're constantly getting those things. You know, when you guys said, oh, we have open comments, I said, how are you doing that? You let all the riffraff in. But I think, you know, those are things that we would worry about. And some people don't even have to consider those things, right? And so it's part of it. But I think it also makes you a little tough. You wish you didn't have to be tough all the time, but I think sometimes it does make you a little tougher.
Yes. What you're doing is so important. I think, like, generationally, like, for example, my grandmother, some of the things that I've done, right? She would probably have said, oh, I don't think the white folks would like that. You know, I don't think you should do that. But my mother was a little different. You know, she grew up hearing my grandmother say things like that, but I don't think she agreed with it, but she couldn't really verbalize it. But what she did for me, you know, now we're talking about third generation, was she created a space so that I could be my unapologetic self. I didn't have somebody in my own family setting those societal boundaries for me before I was even out in society. So now we're able to verbalize this and really embody it and communicate what it means for us to show up in our spaces authentically and influence the next generation so that they don't feel so confined in these spaces. And y'all are just doing very powerful work.
I think it's important that what you just said is so important. Like, I don't want to have to police myself to feel like I can move about the cabin that is this world,
right?
And be accepted. I want to just be able to wake up and be my best self, and people not have anything to say about it. And I feel it's like it's so mentally exhausting when we have to think like 3 hours ahead of where we are and say, where am I going to be? What will they say about this? Will they think this? Will they think that? And then you just talk yourself into like this really tough mental space where you start questioning everything about you. And so I think it's important work that we all do for ourselves to not police ourselves before presenting ourselves to the world.
Totally agree. So y'all have inspired me because I was going to do a mental note on something else and it was probably going to come off as petty. Just saying.
Well, Jay.
Just
not gonna say name.
I mean, I try because no, I really don't.
One more question for our guest.
I'm sorry.
Can I ask our guest one more question before you go into the mental note, Jay?
No, I wouldn't go into it now. I was just saying they
you can if you want to. But so what would your advice be? We just talked about generational culture shifting, really. What advice would you give to young women seeking to achieve the same success that you both achieved? Big questions, right?
Yeah.
So many lessons learned.
Yeah. I think for me and what I tell like my niece and my nephew, like always be open to changing your mind. Never feel confined to any space. Never feel like this is the box I have to fit myself into. Like create your own box, and it can be any shape you want. Like boxes aren't just square. It just has a lid on it, and even the lid, you can take that off. It's still a box. And so always be open to change your mind, because I think at every step of my career that when things change for the good, it's because I'm like, okay, I'm open to something new, learning something new, being somebody different. And I think that that's what has led me to, be able to be on this journey with Zakia to do this podcast. Because I mean, when I graduated from grad school, the dream, the goal was to be a professor. And I was like, I'm going to be a professor. This is what I've been saying since I was 9. I'm going to be a professor. I'm going to be a professor. I'm going to be a professor. And then I was like, I don't think I'm going to be a professor. And so and then I had this whole like mental breakdown where I was just like, who am I? What am I? I don't know who I'm supposed to be if I'm not going to be a professor. Like, this is like this is like a part of my personality. It's a personality trait for me to say I want to be a professor and to be a professor. And so then I was like, change your mind, change it, just change it. It's okay. And the reason I feel like a lot of the reasons why people are afraid to change their minds because they're afraid of what other people will think of them. And so I kind of had to do a lot of soul searching in that moment and say, I don't care what people think about me. I need to be a success in my own mind and happy with myself. And so just always being open to changing your mind or adding a new skill to your toolkit that you might feel like you don't need. Like now I feel like I'm an expert on all these microphones and all these things like that. And I didn't necessarily have those skills before. But that's probably what I would say to the younger generation, is just being open to being multi-hyphenated.
Yeah. I think TT really hit the nail on the head with that as far as being open to changing your mind. I think one of those things is really a lot of self-reflection. And, I feel like one of the defining features of my career, of my life in general, is having really great relationships. And I like to think of it almost like sonar. I have some strong friends that are in my circle. And when I'm going out too far, they echo back like, too far. Okay. You're losing.
Cuckoo.
Yes. Okay. And so it's almost like a signal, those kind of things help keep you grounded, because I think it's really easy. It's really easy to get lost in the sauce, and before you know it, the goals you're chasing aren't necessarily your goals.
It's somebody else's, right?
It's somebody
else's.
And I think when you have those folks who know you, I have friends from undergrad, and TT is my friend from grad school. And we always say that TT basically went to undergrad with us. Now we just reverse engineered her into the timeline.
That's right.
And so when I look at my core group of friends and I'm like, hey, I'm feeling a little lost. I think I have those really great relationships with my friends that help me feel really grounded and centered. And then also with friends that are in the sciences that can say, hey, here's the next thing to do. Here's the next way to go. Issa Rae had this saying, and I can't remember her exact words, but basically everybody's trying to network up. You should be networking with people in your same level across. And I mean, I can't say the number of opportunities, just the ideas of how you can pursue things in different ways that I've gotten from my horizontal network. Okay. Not trying to vertically to always scale up. And so I think those things have been so useful. Having friends that understand, having a friend like T2 who knows that you can make change, reaching these certain tables, people like, oh, you really want to be a professor? Been there, done that, walked away from that, right? And knowing that ain't it, and not in that box, that's not it. And so really being comfortable in your own skin and asking where am I in space and time, and what is most important to me, and who am I when untethered from these institutions? Because I think a lot of folks want you to be, I am a Harvard this, or I am a, Duke that. And who are you when you're untethered from all those other things? And I think that finding that and being able to always hold on to that, I think is really useful when moving through.
Say that for the people in the back. Damn. Thank you. My God. Right.
Unmute, TT, unmute.
No, I was just repeating what you said. Who are you when you are untethered from these institutions?
Right.
Right. You better preach to me.
I'm about to start playing the organ, y'all. Where the organ at?
We have to turn a little sound effects board.
We gotta get the organ.
We need those.
Putting in the words here. I love your advice. Because I personally relate. Like, feel like all of my successes happened because I wasn't afraid to change my mind. My resume looked like alphabet soup.
Love it.
I was in corporate. I was at a community college. I was at a university. I was at high school. Like, people look at my resume and be like, dang, you was all over the place. I'm like, yeah, because I was trying to figure out what I liked. Like, I'm not about to spend my entire career in a place unhappy because that's what everybody else gonna do. I'm not gonna do that. No.
And now look at you. You Raven, the science maven.
Exactly.
Hello.
Yes.
Everything viral. People like, have you seen this? I'm like, duh, I've seen it. It's Raven, the science maven.
Yes.
DJ Khaled.
Dumb question.
Another
Another viral hit.
Like, I think people get surprised when I guess somebody like me that they consider whatever. They're like, oh wow, you changed your mind a lot. Your path was kind of all the way around. Like, I even failed out of college my freshman year, and I had to work my way around.
Let's talk about failing in college.
Yep.
And then people are like, wow, you went through all that. I'm like, yeah, I had a journey. I had to find myself. To get to where I am. It was a process. It wasn't just I woke up one day and I was like, I'm gonna be Raven. It's like, no, it did not happen like that. It wasn't easy, but it was definitely rewarding, right?
Exactly.
Don't regret anything.
Exactly.
So
everybody that wonders is not lost. Okay.
Right. All I hear is experience. Right?
Right.
When Raven says that, I've been in this situation that I'm like, girl, somebody needs to hire you ASAP if they're smart. Because you're not gonna fail. You're gonna be good in every setting because you've already been there. You've already done that. But that's a whole nother. Where's my tambourine? Okay. You play the Hammond organ, I'll play the tambourine.
That's right. That's it. Put me in any room. I'm a winner. Okay.
Man, everybody can't do that.
So inspired.
Say that now. Say that part again. Say that part again. Because a lot of times, the very people who have so much to say can't do what you're doing. Just saying.
Say that, Chanel.
How many times does that happen? for somebody has a lot going on.
Jay-Z said it. Jay-Z said it. He was like, somebody will say, "Oh, you can't do that." And he says, "No, you can't do that. You can't do it."
There you go.
Right. That's what you're trying to project onto me. You're projecting your fears onto me. No, you can't do that. And let's stick with that.
It's amazing how people want to have you to match how they feel. And if you can't perform the way that they want you to perform based off of their insecurities and their vision of who you should be based off of where you came from, who your mom is, what you look like, whatever the case may be. I was like, no, you shouldn't do that. You couldn't. You sure you want to do that now, especially during the pandemic? Yes, we do. Yes. And guess what? I'm successful. Okay.
There you go.
Just saying.
There you go. I'm not trying at this point. I'm doing. At this point, I'm doing.
You're doing. That's the key right there. Wait, okay, so let me go back because this is completely off the subject, and I want to make sure I get this on camera for my lovely best friend Chanel. Zakia, you're from the South.
Listen, just say Android. Just say Android. Just say Android.
I wasn't even going there.
You don't have time for this.
I wasn't going there. I promise.
She about to do the fish thing, ain't you?
No. What?
Jay's finna be. She's gonna be very petty. Wait, time out. Now, Jay, before you say anything, I can already tell you what TT finna say. Because she's from PG. I already know what she's finna say.
It doesn't matter.
So go ahead.
No.
We're not going to work.
Say it. Here's the thing. First of all, okay, I love you, TT. The question wasn't for her. How about that? Okay? Now, Zakia.
Turn your camera off, TT.
Love you.
I'm ready.
Okay, you're from the South, right? Okay. What is a delicacy that you eat in the South? And I know it's different for all of us. I'm from Memphis, but what is a delicacy that you eat that I was going to use the word ignorant, that some people are not privy to, that they may not like because they're Northerners? What is this something that usually throws people off? I know it's not what we eat because y'all a little bit different, but y'all got some good food too in the Carolinas.
Just ask her the question you want to ask her instead of being ask her.
First of all, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, and TT will back me up on this. It's all delicacies. I live by the pot. Okay, I cook. That is my love language. Okay, so I don't know if we talking grits. I don't know if we talking chitlins and hog maws. I don't know what we talking about. I mean, it could be any of those things. A Southern delicacy.
What came to your mind first? Because grits is a whole nother subject. Some people use salt and pepper. Some people use sugar.
Yes, I believe
you put in your grits.
Grits should be savory. Okay, I believe sharp cheddar cheese. Okay, coarsely fresh cracked black pepper. I have. We talk about generational things. No more black dust for me. Y'all can have that dust out of those little pepper shakers. No, thank you. I am cracking the peppercorn over the grits.
I love it.
You gotta get that whole milk of cream in there. That's the grits for me. No sugar for me. I have a friend to eat some savory and sweet.
Well, I mean, depending on who cook it.
Yeah.
Depends on where you go. Okay, so I had to set the question up because in Memphis, and again, y'all, I'm looking at everybody. So I know it's different in the Carolinas, but in Memphis, we eat fish and spaghetti. But when I say fish and spaghetti, how do you perceive that? Do you think that we're actually mixing the fish and the spaghetti together?
No. Everybody, first of all, knows this line from "I was already on fish and spaghetti." Okay. Who is that? That's Bad Boy.
Diddy and all them.
Diddy and them. Okay.
Yeah.
It's fried fish and spaghetti on the spaghetti is your side. It is not an entree. This is not like baked spaghetti with the meat in the square. This is spaghetti on the side, is what I understood.
I love you.
Zakia, the question is, would you eat it though? Would you eat it?
I know the answer to that.
Would you put it in your mouth?
Yes. First of all, I'm not. If it's being offered, I'm not turning it down. And the Southern in me, you don't turn down something that's been offered to you. If I go to Memphis and Jay says, This is what we're having. This is what we're having. I love it. I love it. This is what we're having.
That's all I need to know.
Those are my manners.
That's all.
Okay, I got to give it to you. You got
Case
manners. I got to give it to you. She said her manners would not let her decline the meal.
It doesn't even matter because it sounded good to her, and she knows that there's rules when it comes to fish and spaghetti. They're separate, but they're together. You see what I'm saying?
Spaghetti is not a side dish. Spaghetti is a whole meal by itself.
I gotta do this.
You got
Okay.
2 main courses on the same plate.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Love the conversation. Could be a whole STEMbassy after dark. We just bring on people from the South and people not from the South to debate
We
this
should
topic.
do that.
That would be so fun
We
on
should
Instagram
definitely
Live.
do that.
Yes.
But right now,
IG Live, we should definitely
oh
do
gosh.
You know you started
Definitely we
this.
should do this.
Right now, I think we got to get in some of our concluding segments. Raven, why did you make me big? I was just trying to transition.
Because you did.
I got nothing to say. I'm trying to pass the baton.
It felt like breaking news. I was like, oh shoot, girl.
Breaking
With
news.
the blazer on.
Mental
it
health
felt
note with Jay. Let's get into it.
Okay, I'm gonna talk about fish and spaghetti. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. I'm not. It's really weird seeing myself big, but I do like it. Anywho, I'm going to echo everybody that talked today, and I really, really appreciate our guests on the show today. When it comes to contorting yourself, creating your own future, designing your own life, you do not need, if you have not heard this, you do not need to contort yourself, shrink yourself to fit anybody else's view or expectation of you. When we do that, that's where imposter syndrome comes from. It doesn't come from us internally. It's because we're trying to please so many people. And you don't need to do that. Whatever was birthed into you, whatever ideas that was given to you since birth, whatever you want to try, you can be multi-hyphenated. And especially in the time that we live now, why wouldn't you be? The thing about it is we can't continue to do things that has always been done. It worked back then, but it doesn't work now. It's okay to be open-minded. It's okay to wonder as some do. Personally, that's good for your mental health. You have to go and recognize your emotions. When you don't recognize your emotions and you suppress others, that is toxic psychology. That's what it is. It's basically toxic positivity, because you're telling yourself that I always have to be so happy, or I always have to make sure that I'm doing this because my mama would expect it, or because whoever would expect it. No. Listen to yourself. Whenever you're upset, when you're angry, you're sad, feel those feelings and then figure out, okay, well, what is it that I can do to encourage myself? How can I move forward? Affirmations are great. We talked about, a good circle. Have a good, positive circle around you. Not people who are just going to people please you or yes their way, into your life. Have people that are going to check you, make you accountable, and you keep them accountable. That's important now. So that is all I'm going to do tonight. But be you, boo. Look, you don't have to be everything to everybody either. We done. We're done doing that. It's 2020. Be yourself. Be yourself. At home.
I feel like I always need your mental note, and it just always makes my week better. I'm like, yes, I needed to hear that. Thank you, Jay. I'm not kidding. It's every week that she does a mental note. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I needed for my soul.
Oh, thank you. Don't stress yourself out for these people. You got to catch turkeys. You can't
energy for Monday right here.
Right.
Okay. Look, no.
Thank you, Jay. Your message is always on time. Let me get the organ out. Dun, dun.
God bless your heart and all your parts.
Always on time. Can I get a STEMbassy?
Thank you. STEMbassy.
And Chanel, do we have a message from you tonight?
We have a public health act this week, but it's going to be very quick, short, and to the point. Let me know when you're ready. We can get going.
We're ready.
There we go. We're ready. So, public health hat this week is about vaccines in general. So last week, Raven highlighted that I had an op-ed that was published in Quartz Magazine where I discussed the nuances between, days not so past, but the reason why some Black folks are so hesitant on getting the vaccine. And so I covered a lot of different things. But today, as a result of that, there's been more conversations, right, about vaccines in general. So then folks are talking about, oh, there's things like mercury in vaccines. There's adverse reactions, and it causes autism and this kind of, it's like, listen, can you avoid an adverse reaction to many different things? No, you can't. And then when we get, we start talking about vaccines in general, yeah, there is a possibility that you'll have an adverse reaction. There's about 1 in 1 million chance that you'll have an adverse reaction, whatever the reaction could be. Soreness, being tired, some lethargy, anything like that. But for a truly adverse reaction, it's a 1 in a million chance for that to happen. That's really a 0.0001% chance that you have something that go terribly wrong with getting a vaccine. Okay, that's the first thing. So the likelihood of you getting an adverse reaction, is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Probably not. The second thing is this whole mercury in vaccines. So we all know that back in the day when we were doing vaccines and making them available for everybody in large batches, you want to get rid of things like bacteria or other microbes that can cause some kind of precipitation or transfer the bacteria into your body. Now you got septic, blood and all that kind of stuff. You want to stop that. It's a preservative, right? But we found out that during childhood vaccination periods, that kids could be exposed to more mercury than what they're supposed to be, according to the EPA, right? So in 1999, mercury, and I believe it was thimerosal at the time, was removed from all childhood vaccines as of 1999. It's not a problem anymore. We only have mercury derivatives in vaccines like the influenza vaccine, I believe. But as far as your childhood vaccinations and whatnot, mercury is no longer an issue. So just in general, if you're talking about vaccines and you're listening to conspiracy theorists talking about there's heavy metals in vaccines, there's other preservatives, you may have to deal with things like eggs. Some vaccines, they use eggs to incubate and make the vaccine more readily replicated or whatever to make large batches. But in general, the likelihood of you having an adverse reaction is literally 1 in a million. Don't believe me? STEMbassy will be posting the links to some peer-reviewed articles that have all the data you need to know, okay? So don't be scared of vaccines in general. Whether you get the COVID vaccine is your choice, but don't be scared of vaccines in general. That is your public health message. This is public health hat for the week. Everybody have a great week. Make good choices.
Thank you, Dr. Shannon.
I love it. I love it.
We do love it. We do love it.
Life is all about the choices you make. I love you preaching tonight. I love it. Okay.
Make good choices. And at the very least, keep wearing your mask.
But no, tell them how many now.
CDC recommends wearing 2 masks, double up. So what that means is you wear your paper mask, the disposable one under, that's the first layer, and then you wear your decorative one or the more tightly fitting one over. And as long as you have a seal that's covering your nose and around your mouth, under your chin, you're good to go. The idea here is not to suffocate yourself. They're not saying, oh, I'm going to suffocate. They're just saying, make a seal around this area. That also means please do not buy those masks with the straw hole in it. All you do is letting a hole in for the COVID to get right through. Don't do that, please. Don't do that. I've seen those. People are like, oh, look, I can drink my drink at the bar. Please don't buy those. You literally made a hole for the COVID to go into your mouth. Like, what are you doing? So sorry.
Oh, you can go to
so sorry. Don't buy those. No, don't buy those.
But it's spring.
It's spring. Corona said she has a sundress on. Wait for y'all this summer too.
Oh,
Corona is ready for sundress season. Just saying.
I love it.
Corona's ready. She said, "Come on out, y'all. It's sundress season." She ready. She ready.
She's bikini body ready.
She is.
She's bikini body ready.
She is. She is a whole virus vibe.
You can go outside, just wear your mask and socially distance. It's the same rules as before. It's nothing new here. Nothing new to see, people. Make good choices.
Yay! Well, it's always a good time. Always a good time. Well, we've had our mental note with Jay. We had our public health hat moment with Chanel. And we are concluding another fantastic episode of STEMbassy. We had on our guests, Dr. Zakiya Watley and I'm starting over because I'm getting this right. Dr. Zakiya Watley and Dr. Titi Jodia on our show. And I'm going to put their information here up on the screen. Hold on. All right.
Dope Labs podcast, y'all.
Yeah.
Dope Labs podcast.
Yes, Dope Labs.
These are their handles. TT on Twitter you can find at Dr._T Show. And on Instagram at Dr._T Show as well. And Dr. Zakia, you can find
I
on
like
Twitter
Z
at
said so. I like
He said so. I'm finna
And
go
on
follow right
Instagram,
now.
as he
Z
said
said so.
Yeah.
And again, these are two dope women who created Dope Labs podcast, a Science Center podcast. They are talking about current events, cultural events, and just an amazing initiative from two women. And again, they are a part of the Spotify Sound Up program that brought this to life. So it's amazing to have you here on our platform. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having
Thank you for
us.
having
Thank you
us.
so much,
So
ladies.
fun.
This was so much fun.
This
Thank
has
you.
been fun.
Thank you. So you can find STEMbassy at STEMbassy on all of our social media pages, except for Facebook. We are at the STEMbassy, and on patreon.com/STEMbassy. And you can go to our website, STEMbassy.org, to check us out and to also see our past episodes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.